Good morning. Thank you for coming to the Unite Mail Town Hall for HQ Focal Points. My name is Liliana Orugudo, and we have here today Ms. Atefa Riazi and Ms. Olga de la Piedra, Mr. Erzin Ilyazi, and Mr. Ahmad Gay. Ms. Riazi and Ms. de la Piedra do need to run to the Umoja Steering Committee meeting, so they will speak for about 15 minutes, and then Mr. Ilyazi will take over for the rest of the presentation and the Q&A session.
Thank you, Liliana. Good morning, good afternoon to some of our colleagues that are connecting remotely. Good morning, everyone who's also connecting remotely. It's really wonderful to see everyone here on a very nice occasion because I've been at the UN for about 4 years, maybe 3.5, and many of you have come to me saying, when are we going to move to exchange? So we are here to tell you we are moving, and we are moving this year. Lotus Note's been great for us for a long time. It has served us well, but the time has come for us to transform our messaging space, and my colleagues here, especially Erzin and Olga, they're going to tell you a little bit about that. But I want to take a step back and tell you about where we are with IT strategy, because initiatives like migration to exchange is part of what we had put together about 3 years ago as a part of our IT strategy. We came before the GA and we said, look, we have a tremendous opportunity to modernize the UN, and there's a great deal of need both on automating the inner working of the UN as well as focusing on the substantive side of our operation. So the strategy was set to look at key areas and begin to modernize and transform the operation. We had within the strategy 5 pillars. I want to talk to you briefly about them just to tell you how does a project like Exchange fit into that strategy. We talked about modernization, which involved the Umoja project, and our colleagues at the Umoja side have been doing tremendous job transforming our operation in finance, in HR, and procurement. And I'm really delighted to have Olga with me because she's been leading that effort. And that was part of the modernization. Along with that, we had initiatives like expansion of Inspira or fuel management, ration management systems, contingent owned equipment. These are big modernization projects for DFS, along with knowledge management initiatives. So these are part of what we said we're going to do, as well as automating and modernizing our network globally and the monitoring of it, as well as cybersecurity. I'm sure many of you have attended the mandatory cybersecurity training, and you'll know how critical it is that we have a secure network within the UN globally. We also talked about transforming our operation. We started with 70 IT shops and 44 data centers and 130 help desks and thousands of applications. And we said we are going to transform that. We're going to set up service delivery models and centers. And we harmonized that, and now we have centers, regional centers, that operate within the region. New York is a hub for the Americas region. Geneva is a hub for European region. Nairobi is a hub for Africa, and Bangkok for Asia. So we established these centers where harmonized ICT services, and we set up 3 enterprise application centers in New York, in Vienna, and in Bangkok. We also harmonized service desk centers, and a lot of calls now are going to our Unite service desk for applications for Umoja, for Inspira, and many of them for New Exchange will go through our 5 Unite service desks. And we also consolidated all of our hosting and network monitoring within DFS in Bernice and Valencia. So a lot of transformation work has taken place over the last 2.5, 3 years. And part of that, of course, was how do we bring in modern solutions to the UN? We've talked about innovation, which was our 3rd pillar of our strategy, and that really focused on how do we bring technology to the substantive side of our operation. We looked at sustainable development goals and how do we ensure that there is proper technology, analytics, information, innovation in that space, and that's the space we're going into. We have a new group called Digital Blue Helmet that focuses on security and crime. That group was established Innovation hubs are being established, and there's a lot of work around analytics and data, both internally around Yamoj and other products we have deployed, as well as externally. The next two pillars were optimize and govern. These focus really on our IT contracts, IT talent, how do we train because technology is changing, and this is one of the technologies you see, but there are many more new technologies coming in. How do we make sure that we train our talent, and how do we align better? How do we do global sourcing, so we buy once globally across the UN and get better pricing? We do actually have an RFP on the street right now, which focuses mostly on our contracted services. We have lots of partners and contracts, and we're trying to streamline that operation with one contract across all entities within Secretariat. I've heard some feedback from some of you wondering whether that's going to impact staff, and I want to be very clear, that contract doesn't impact any staff. It's solely focused on contractual services. We want to make sure we have common contract and common view to our services globally. We looked at governance. The SGB for ICT was issued, which establishes the way we're structured and the way we work. We have an architecture team. We have standards committee. All of these committees look at new technologies and try to bring in new products and new solutions that help make your life better and easier, hopefully. But let's get to emails. You know, we have a lot of products in the IT world, but we spend most of our time on email. And we want to make sure that is easier to use. We want to make sure it's integrated. You have interoperability. For a long time, we had DFS that had Exchange, and the rest of the Secretariat had Notes. So we are really upgrading and migrating to have one messaging system, one directory, and we're all moving to UN.org, which is one brand. So that's huge for us because it kind of gives us not only an interoperability and common directory, but also consistent and common brand moving into UN.org. Other UN entities have moved or are moving to Exchange, like UNDP, like WHO. So as we move to common platform, now we can contact our colleagues much easier. And that's what the system brings. And it's the beginning of the interoperability of systems. The next phase would be unified messaging. The next phase is knowledge management. So all of these kind of disparate systems that haven't connected through this first move are being connected, and we are moving to cloud services. So we can offer better services to everyone, which is reliable and 24/7. The rollout started with OCHA and ECA, and so far over 1,000 users have migrated. OCHA migrated Afghanistan and Haiti, and these are entities with low connectivity and unreliable network, and we have had good service and good positive response, so that's really good. Now we're moving to UNHQ, and that's where we really need your help because we spoke with a lot of people. It looks like 70% of people can just intuitively either have used Exchange or can use it, but we know there'll be a lot of questions. And I've gotten a lot of questions about with my data archive, with my calendar sync, lots of questions that you will probably receive, and we want to make sure that we share the knowledge we have with you, and we tell you where the other sources of knowledge and how you can reach out to us and our team as your clients and your colleagues have questions about how to live in the Exchange world. So we need your help. I personally want to thank you in advance for your help and for you coming here to this meeting. And we think that this will be the beginning of a lot more transformation that you'll see coming your way, making our lives a little bit easier. So my great thanks goes to Erzen and his team, who's been instrumental in leading this project the last year and a half, and of course my dear friend here, Olga, and I'm going to pass this on to Olga to share some thoughts with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ati. So it's my pleasure to talk a little bit more about what the solution means. Ati mentioned that it's cloud-based. So what does it mean that it's cloud-based? It means that we will be able to use all the functionality for email initially from anywhere and almost from any device. So where it's your personal phone or your work phone or your computer at home or your computer at work, you will be able, or if you go visit another office and you do not bring a laptop, you will be able to access your email from anywhere and from almost any device. In terms of mailboxes, our mailboxes will be significantly larger. What that means is that we will be able to keep emails longer that don't need to be archived. At the same time, our archives will be there will be almost no limit to the amount of email messages that we can archive. But what does that mean? It means that once you start generating emails, sending and receiving email messages from your Office 365 or Outlook solution, all those new messages that are generated will be able to be archived almost forever. The mailboxes are really big. There's a separate process for the migration of the email messages that you currently have archived that will be discussed separately. But just to let you know that the new email messages will have almost unlimited archives and you will have a very, very large inbox, much larger than what you have today. Office 365 has many tools of applications. You can go on the web and you can Google Office 365 and you'll see that it has a lot of tools. And we have, as part of our solution, and we will be using many of those tools. The first step is to migrate our email solution. Why? Because that's what holds it all together. That's what allows for the integration and the interoperability between email and the other applications that are in Office 365. So one of the solutions that we're going to be doing after the first phase, which is the email globally, once we have the email globally, at the same time you will be having access to the latest and the greatest version of the Microsoft Office Productivity Suite. Things like Excel and Word and Microsoft, you will have the latest and the greatest versions of that solution which you can use from anywhere. You could use it from home, you could use it from the office, again, you could use it from anywhere in the world. So aside from those solutions, you see Word, Excel, Outlook, PowerPoint, that's our phase one. And you will also start to be able to use Skype for Business. So, which will initially allow us to chat across the organization. Skype will be smart enough that it will have everybody in the organization globally in there. You won't have to become friends with people. You'll be friends already with them by being part of Skype for Business. So you'll be able to chat. As a second step with regards to Skype, and I hope that you're familiar with what Skype is. Skype is a tool that's available for free and currently that you can just go and subscribe and you could chat to people, you can do a little bit of video, but the free element of Skype, it's not encrypted, it doesn't have everybody in the organization, it's difficult to find people. The corporate solution will replace same time chat, and it will eventually allow us to even replace part of the video conferencing. But for us to get there, we'll take a couple of steps. First, we'll start with a chat, get everybody used to the tool. Not everybody uses Skype today, but many people do. And then as we proceed, we'll start to use the telephone capability, which is telephone-like and easy to use, and we'll use the video conferencing also as part of the second step. Why do it in two steps? We need to understand how our networks behave as everybody starts to Skype with each other, and then we'll need to make the necessary adjustments. So it will be done in steps. Okay, so long-term solutions, the long-term planning, include the integration with other enterprise applications. So we will be able to integrate with Umoja, with Inspira, and with UniteDocs. If you use Umoja ECC, you may already be using Excel integrated with Umoja, but it's kind of painful. The integration is a little bit quirky. So the integration, once we have Office 365 and we integrate with Umoja, will be much easier and much better. And you will be able to have some of those files in the cloud if you need to have it. In the same way, we'll be able to integrate with Inspira in a much better way than we're integrating Office and Excel today, and as well as with UniteDocs. So what comes after that? The next enhancements, aside from making Skype for Business available for video conferencing and teleconferencing, it's the addition of OneDrive. And OneDrive is cool because it's a huge, huge, huge drive that you will have to put your files. So I can have all the files that I have and have it on the cloud. Share these 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 files with somebody else so they will be able to look at my files. Some of you may use Dropbox for personal, and some of you may be using it for other purposes, business right now. So this is like a Dropbox that you will have, but it's a corporate Dropbox that we will be able to use from anywhere to keep all of our files. There's another tool called SharePoint, which is also very powerful, and it will come in a subsequent phase. SharePoint allows us to do workflows, share files, keep records, and again, fully integrated with your Office suite, with your email in ways that we have not seen yet because we have different tools that are not working together as well. So I'm personally really looking forward to that. I've used it before, and I know that it's incredibly, incredibly powerful. So right now, what we need you to do is we need to all focus on getting the interface, the email solution ready. This is our priority. We need to get the email to everybody out there in the whole world, and once we have email out there with the whole world, we will automatically have Office, which Excel, PowerPoint, and Word for everyone. We'll start to put Skype for Business, and then we'll go on to OneDrive and to SharePoint. But email is our responsibility, it's our priority, it's what's urgent that we get to everyone as soon as we can. That will allow us to put all the other functionality in place immediately thereafter. So what I'd like you to do is to please visit the Unite website, the unite.un.org Office 365 site. It has tons of information in there. We're adding, anytime somebody asks a question that we haven't addressed there, we're adding Q&A in that site. You can also look at training resources, e-courses and guides. We have deployment updates. The plan for deployment is there. So it's an incredibly rich location for you to find out more information about this plan. Not only for the first phase, we'll be enriching it with the plans for the next phases as we move forward with the first phases. I have to say that, as Ati said, we've been extremely successful already with the deployment with our colleagues, and we very quickly went through a slide from the staff in Colombia who basically called to say that this was the best thing that they had ever seen since they have been working in the UN. And this is only the email. So I just want to say that it's extremely encouraging, and we look forward to having your support and working with us to making this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. I do want to mention a few other things before Olga and I have to leave. I did mention mandatory security training. This is really critical for all of us to take as often as we can. So please do take that. There is a governance which we need to have. In general, it doesn't matter if it's with notes or exchange. When people leave, we need to know that they have left so we can get them off all the applications they have access. We really rely on you to let us know. If you don't know, your consultant, your contractor, your staff left, they have access to a lot of systems. It goes against our security standards and policies. So it's something that's really important for us to know. We're cleaning up a lot, but we have to make sure we have that. The third, there's a lot of shared drives. I hope Ercan talks about that. We do have documents that are going back God knows how long. We do have to begin to clean up some of the shared drives and make sure we have good file management and document management system. We do have Unite Docs, which is deployed. We recommend we begin to move our documents to the system so they have records management, you can find them, and they're integrated. Also, as Olga mentioned, we got to move to desktop on the cloud. So Excel, Word, all of those are in the works. And it's really important. We have so many applications that are written on notes. We need to begin to get off, and the enterprise application centers would begin to work with you and your team and your departments to help us get off some of these applications and either move them to Emerge or other enterprise systems. And again, finally, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank Liliano for coordinating the outreach globally for us on notes and everyone else who's been really engaged. with us to deploy the Exchange, Office 365. So thank you very much. I'm sorry we have to leave, but Ercan is here, his team is here, and they can answer all the questions. Thank you.
So let's continue with this town hall. What you see right now on the screen is a high-level schedule that we agreed with all the departments and entities which are part of the Secretariat for 2017. As Ati said earlier, OCHA and ECA already migrated, and we are right now in a phase of starting migration for ICT users here in New York headquarters, ESCAP, UNON, and ESCWA. As time passes, in May, we are going to reach out to the focal points of departments which are physically located in New York headquarters, and they have email accounts in New York headquarters. And with these departmental focal points, we are going to start preparing for the migration of the specific departments. Our approach is that we migrate department at a time, or maybe two departments at a time, but in any case, we should migrate all departmental accounts at the same time. Obviously, this will be done in coordination with you, so we don't have any kind of misunderstandings or issues with the emails of the people that we are migrating. A little bit down when we go through this presentation, I'm going to actually explain what does this mean when I'm talking about migration. Further, in the second half of this year, we are going to move to UNOV, UNODC, as well as UNOG and entities supported by UNOG. This is our regional technology center of Europe. And then we are going to migrate United Nations Environment Program, or UN Environment, Habitat, ECLAC, and most importantly, we are going to also migrate field missions and peacekeeping into the same Office 365 solution. I just want to pause here for a second and explain what does this mean when it comes to peacekeeping. Peacekeeping, as you probably know, for those ones who have been communicating with them, has already implemented Exchange. I believe they are already almost 2 years under with Exchange, if not more. This Exchange is in-house, and it's physically located in Valencia and disaster recovery site in Brindisi. However, we are moving away from that, and we are going to merge all United Nations Secretariat email accounts under one email domain, which is un.org. That would give us much easier access and communication to pretty much with everybody around the world, with all our colleagues, which are not only from peacekeeping, but as you can see from economic commissions, also from offices away from headquarters, and departments such as Office of High Commission for Human Rights, UNCTAD, and so on and so forth, that are not per se listed here, but they go under the entities supported by UNOG. What will we get now in this Office 365 deployment? Ati and Olga spoke a little bit about this. We are going to install Outlook, which has mail, calendar, and more on your computer. We are going to install Office 2016. Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. We are going to install Skype for Business, where chat and instant messaging will be enabled. I would like to also say that within the Skype for Business implementation, you will also have a possibility to make a telephone call and video call. However, at this point in time, we do not guarantee a quality of service on those services. such as telephone and video call. They will work, but we do not guarantee quality of service. The reason for that is that this is all routed through the encrypted traffic through the internet. And at this point in time, we obviously cannot control quality of service on internet. We do not use, with Skype for Business, the MPLS connectivity that goes through Valencia and Brindisi. Future enhancements will include Skype video and calling externally, which means that we will, in the second phase, connect, whenever that second phase comes, we will connect our internal PBXs basically and call managers, SIP trunks to the Skype for Business, so you would be able to make a telephone call from your Skype for Business account to any telephone number around the world. And obviously, this is entering into the area of the of the telephony, which we also have Cisco telephony, which we also have on your desks. And we will obviously reach out to you, and with focal points, we will work as we will do for email system to do it in a orderly manner in a second phase. OneDrive for Business and SharePoint are also in future enhancements, and my colleague who just joined us, Suzanne Shanahan, here next to me, she is the director of Enterprise Application Center in New York, and she is leading a project of OneDrive for Business. She's in the process of preparing a business case right now for the deployment of OneDrive for Business, and I would like to ask Suzanne to say a couple of words right now on that component before we move on to the next slide.
Thank you, Ersin. In terms of OneDrive for Business, as Olga mentioned, it is one of the products that come with our license agreement. And as Ersin mentioned, I'm undertaking a high-level business case to get us the sort of governance we need to move forward. We're looking at OneDrive for Business as becoming your personal drive. So the idea here is not that it would be to replace the investment you may have made in putting documents into Unite Docs. It's not intended to become the big shared drive for everybody in the UN, but what it will do is give you a personal drive in the cloud, which is not something you have an official product to handle right now. Many people are using Google Docs or Dropbox or other tools because they really don't have another way to safely store their own personal documents and be able to access them. We think that this is going to make it easier for you to work. It will, in effect, replace your own personal C drive or the H drive if you're using that and accessing it through mobile office. And it will give you a way to access those documents from almost all devices, right? And give you much more mobility. You will also be able to share those documents with people who are using this, who have been migrated, but it is not intended to become your full-blown collaboration solution. So the idea is to roll this out as soon as possible because we think that it will facilitate overall mobility of staff and their ability to do their work from anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. On the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of Office 365. For those ones who hear first time about this project, I just want to point out that Office 365 gives us significantly larger mailboxes that you have right now. With the latest announcement for Microsoft, mailboxes are now of the size of 100 gigs per person. And includes unlimited archive space. What does that mean? It means that from the moment when you are migrated to Office 365, every single email, if you decide to archive it, will be archived, and it will be archived in a cloud, and it will be accessible to you on any application that you have on your mobile devices and your computers. Either they are from home, accessible remotely from any location. Remote access on any connected devices, that means exactly that. There is an application suite which is for Apple products and for Android products that you can install. That includes PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and so on and so forth from Office Productivity Suite, as well as Outlook. And later on, where we install OneDrive, it includes also OneDrive application. That means that you will be able to see all your emails for not anymore through Traveler, but through the Outlook application that you will have installed on your mobile devices. And at the same time, you will be able to use Skype for Business from your telephone or your tablet or your computer to chat and instant message with everybody who is part of the UN.org Secretariat domain, which will be around 95,000 people. That's the size of this project pretty much. It is one common email address globally at UN.org. This was not the case in the past, as you probably know. Maybe some of you have been working in different organizations. We used to have, and we still have, over 30 different domains, such as unog.ch, unon.org, UNODC, and OHCHR, and so on and so forth. The idea is that all these domains are collapsed into UN.org domain, and everybody has a UN.org primary email address. Instant messaging capabilities with Skype for Business I spoke about. Microsoft as a vendor provides 99.99% reliability of the service. Our test users were migrated many months ago, and from that time until now, we hardly had ever incident with Office 365. In terms of reliability, I can assure you that it's very reliable, probably much more reliable than what we currently have in different duty stations. You will be using Unite Identity Password to access Unite Email. This is really good because it's a one step in the right direction where we are going towards the single sign-on. Right now, as you know, a lot of enterprise applications are using Unite Mail. Unite Identity, and Unite Mail will be also using Unite Identity Password. Access to the latest Office applications. What does that mean, 15 installations? It means that every single person, as part of the license that will be assigned to you, will be able to install up to 15 installations of Office productivity products, which is PowerPoint, Word, Excel, to 5 computers, 5 tablets, and 5 smartphones, in total 15. This will, the home use program that people were using up to now those ones who download it will continue using it, but as of at the moment when you move into Office 365, you don't have to have any more home use program. You can download and install 15 installations of Office Productivity Suite on your devices for free, and you will lose access to this Office 365 license once when you leave organization. So during the time that you are working for the organization, you will have access on 15 devices for the Office productivity. And we also have 24/7 support Unite Service Desk. As you know, Unite Service Desk was very successful when we rolled out Umoja. We resolve hundreds of thousands of tickets a year with Unite Service Desk. Is a truly global coverage, which we have from 5 locations around the world. And Unite Email will be basically part of that support model. So when you make a telephone call or you have an issue, you will have one number, and you will have a possibility to contact central location where tickets will be processed 24/7, which is, again, very different than it used to be in the past, where you had to fall back into working hours for support in duty stations where you are. On the next slide, when it comes to the migration process, I will stop there and I will hand over to my colleague Amat, who joined us about a year ago, I believe exactly a year ago, and he has been leading this project. He's a global project manager for Office 365. He did an amazing job so far, from the moment where this was just a paper, this was just a business case adopted by ICTB and executive committee, until this town hall where we actually are gearing up for the transition. So over to you, Amat.
Thank you, Azin. So I would just like to give a high-level overview of the migration process and how it works. And when we talk about migration process, this is from the time when we start copying your mailbox, your Lotus Note mailbox, to your Office 365 account. And that whole process takes about 21 days. And before that, you will be notified that the process has started. So you will know exactly when you make the switch from using Lotus Notes to start using Outlook. So between the time that we notify you to the time you actually start using Outlook, you will get about 13 notifications. So we want to eliminate as much as possible the possibility that somebody will not be aware that they're being migrated. So there'll be many opportunities to ask questions, to make your concerns known throughout the process. There are also checks along the way at the day after we start the replication, which is T20, to make sure that basically the user still exists within our global NAP. Because the implications on licensing, we do not want to pay for licenses or go through the hassle of migrating mailboxes of people who have left the organization, for example. So these are the validation checks that would happen at T20, 15 days before, and a day before we actually cut over to Outlook. And at any point, if there are any issues, we would let the user know as well, and then advise them what needs to be done to remediate the issue. But I want to highlight 2 emails that the users will get. 5 days before they actually are migrated, they will get an email, an automated email from the tool, which actually they'll get 2 emails from the tool. One of them would include a button for them to click to decrypt any encrypted emails they have on their mailbox. The reason is we would not be able to migrate encrypted emails for obvious reasons. The tool cannot read something that is protected. So the user would need to click the button. The tool would go through the whole mailbox and decrypt everything that's encrypted. And then there will be a report to tell you what has been successfully decrypted and what has not been, and then allow the user to take action on those, either delete them or move them to another repository. There'll be a reminder at 2 days later at T-3, just in case they missed the first one. So they have another opportunity to decrypt their emails. Another email they'll get at T5 is to move any contacts that they might have locally saved on their machine to Outlook as well. And same as the decryption email, they'll get a reminder 2 days later as well. So this is another place where we would need support from the focal points for users who might be away from their desk at that time, on mission, they don't have access to their machine, or they might be on vacation. So to help us coordinate, maybe reach those people and have them take these actions. So the emails, like I mentioned, that are encrypted we will not be able to migrate. So it's very important that users take actions when they get these decrypt and contact move emails. So on the next slide, what will be migrated now? Up to 180 days of email. For UNHQ, the policy is we only keep 90 days worth of emails in your mailbox. Everything older than 90 days is either archived or deleted. So, but for other offices out away from headquarters, their policy might be different. They'll let users keep more than 90 days in their active mailbox, their primary mailbox. For those, we would migrate up to 180. For UNHQ, the policy is 90 days. So 90 days of active emails will be migrated to the cloud. All the folders and their structures will be migrated. But on the next slide, I will talk more about the folder migration. All the contacts will be migrated. All tasks that you might have set up in Lotus Notes will also be migrated. For the calendar items, 180 days of past events and everything in the future. So every recurring meeting that you have in Lotus Notes will also be migrated. Separately, we'll also be migrating any rooms and resources, printers, and so forth to Office 365 as well. So we're coming up with a global naming convention for all rooms so that we'll be appending the entity's name to the rooms. So from anywhere, you can book a room, basically. So if you are setting up a VTC, the process, as you know now, you have to rely on the other party to book a VTC room for themselves. But when you are booking the meeting, you can see which rooms are VTC capable and do it for them. So that's one thing that we're also looking forward to. So mail files, including shared mailboxes, distribution list, all of this would be migrated. What will not be migrated are any signatures that you have on your mailbox. So you would have to recreate your signature. Delegations. So if somebody has access to your mailbox or your calendar, those permissions will not migrate. So they will have to be reset again. So this will require action on the person giving delegation and the person to whom delegation is given to as well. So there will be some coordination to make sure that the same people still have access to the mailbox and the calendars that they did before. And as I mentioned before, anything encrypted will not be migrated as well. Any links to documents, unfortunately, those would not migrate as well. Corrupted content, and any rules that you have. So rules in which certain emails are moved automatically to certain folders as well, those type of rules would have to be recreated as well. So please take note of that as well about the rules, because we've received some complaints about people who did not understand that, but they will not migrate. So to talk about folders, because the concept of all documents which exist now in Lotus Note, there's no such thing in Outlook. So there's no place where all uncategorized emails are housed in Outlook. So what that means, if you have an item in folder A and you have a copy of that item in folder B, when you migrate, only the copy in folder A will be migrated to Outlook. So the content, you will not lose the email, but it will only be in one folder. It will not be migrated to each and every folder where it existed before. So we've seen complaints with OCHA and ECA where there was a misunderstanding. They opened tickets complaining about missing emails. They were not missing. They were in one of the folders. And the tool goes by the alphabetical order, so it puts it in the first folder that it sees it. So take note of that as well. Okay? So archived email? Okay, let me handle archived email as well. You do, okay.
Before I move on to the next slide, which is on archiving, I want to clarify a couple of points from what Ahmad just said. Replication of what we refer to replication of email or migration of email. That doesn't mean that your email in Lotus Notes will disappear. It is copying of emails that you already have in your Lotus Note inbox into Office 365. After migration is done, we are not going to delete the Lotus Notes client from your computer. Your Lotus Notes client will continue being there. Your inbox will be there. Everything that you had in Lotus Notes client will still be there, which means that you will be able to go to your Lotus Notes inbox and email and take a look at the, if you think something is missing or whatever, you can still refer to your Lotus Notes inbox. The only thing that you will not be able to do from the moment that migration is done is to send and receive emails in your Lotus Notes. So you will be able to, you can use only Outlook for that, but you can still do a reference to your Lotus Notes email. So literally, in other words, let me put it this way. As of end of the migration, you will have Outlook that will work on your computer, and you will still have your Lotus Notes. Your Lotus Notes will stay there for any application that you are using through a Lotus Notes client, because that's not part of the scope. That's our colleagues from the Enterprise Application Centers are dealing with the migration of Lotus Notes applications. And you will still have your inbox there. You will still have access to your archives, which are in NSF and in the same way as you're accessing them right now. But you will have on your Outlook, you will have 90 days, 180 days of emails from your Lotus Notes inbox. That's it. Based on all of these things, and obviously, as we said in a presentation, some of the stuff are not migrated. And we don't put any limitation to where this Lotus Notes client will be deleted. But we expect that we would like to delete it as soon as possible. Because if you don't use it for accessing any other applications, if you are satisfied with the Outlook after some time, why do you want to have a Lotus Notes client on your computer? If you transformed your transitioned your archives to some kind of a structure that you will be able to read out of Outlook, why do you need Lotus Notes anymore? But we made a decision that we do not delete Lotus Notes off your computer. And I think this will, from our experience with OCHA and ECA, makes people more comfortable with the migration because they know that nothing really changed. The only thing is that from tomorrow, let's say if you're migrated, you start using Outlook to send and receive emails. You still can fall back and look at your Lotus Notes inbox. The other point that I wanted to say about the encryption of emails. So right now, let's just be absolutely clear what encryption of emails means within the Lotus Notes domain. I sent to Suzanne an email and I encrypt it, which means it is encrypted with my Lotus ID, and it's encrypted because somebody may sniff that email while it's transitioned from my mailbox to her mailbox. So it's in a transit. Okay. Once when it reaches her mailbox, it will be still encrypted, but she can decrypt it with her Lotus Notes ID, and she will be able to see it. Microsoft Office 365 provides encryption also out of box, and this is something that I would like to emphasize here. The client that we have, Outlook client that we have on our machines, we will have on our machines, the Office 365 storage in the cloud, and the communication between the client and the Office 365 inbox is encrypted. We are using a VPN connectivity which is set up for each duty station over internet between our organization and Office 365 Microsoft Cloud. I also want to say that licenses for the purchase of Office 365 have been approved by the HCC and signed off by ASG of OCSS. We did our due diligence. We went to see OLA about the cloud computing and the privileges and immunities related to cloud computing. We got our, a feedback from OLA. Our executive bodies, our governance bodies, ICT governance bodies, which is the ICT board that is chaired by Ms. Riazi, and it has D2s and ASGs from duty stations, as well as executive committee, which is chaired by Mr. Takasu, USG of Department of Management, and where you have USGs of this organization, made a decision in August 2015 that this project should move on. So please, if there are any questions related to legality of this project, this is the time for us to stop talking about that. Because we passed through all the due diligence in terms of whether this project has a coverage for this organization or not. Let's focus instead on the benefits that we are going to get by using this project, results of this project. So that's related to encryption. When my colleague Ahmad says, decrypt your emails, it means that you will allow the tool to take your email and move it over encrypted lines to your encrypted mailbox in the cloud, which means that your email would still be encrypted by the tool that Microsoft provides. So just to be very, very clear on that. I know there were a lot of questions related to what happens, and it's a bit misleading when we come and say, decrypt your emails. That means, oh my God, all my secrets will be now out. Right, and immediately member states are going to jump onto those secrets because it's in a cloud, and they are going to know what I wrote there. Right, that's not the case. That's one thing that I wanted to point out. The second thing that I wanted to point out is that Microsoft is very much aware of our concerns related to the privileges and immunities. They signed the General Terms and Conditions of United Nations. There are provisions there which are related to the General Terms and Conditions. As I said, this passed through the OLA process. So Plus, on top of that, ARMS has a policy which says that confidential data and strictly confidential data should not be sent through email. So this is the whole story about encryption. I'm happy to take more questions about encryption at the same, a little bit later when I finish. I also want to mention that VIPs, because we talk about all these emails that will be sent, VIPs, which are USGs, ASGs, directors, we will have a special care when it comes to them. Together with you, our focal points, we will reach out to them and we will organize a special how can I say, approach to the migration for the VIPs, because we cannot expect that the people on such a senior level would be able sometimes to follow all of these instructions that we give. So you are not alone in this. We will be able to help you, and we hired some interns to assist us, and plus we have a service desk staff which are here in New York headquarters, trained, and they will be able to assist you if there is a problem. And finally, going to archives, because I believe that this is one of the hottest topics for all of you. If I can have the next slide, please. On archived emails. Okay, so on the migration of the archived emails, the slide says what it says. We are going to do a migration of archived emails entity by entity after active mailboxes are migrated. Why do we do this? This organization had 33 domains. Each duty station had somewhat different archiving rules. Somebody archives emails onto servers. Somebody doesn't archive emails at all, but asks people to archive emails on their own, right? And it's a myriad of very, very different policies and rules and regulations around the world. So when we first realized that this is a problem about a year and a half ago, we couldn't do anything but to address this duty station by duty station. So here, let's talk about New York. Until we actually migrate your archives into the readable format under Outlook, you will still have access to your archives via Lotus Notes application on your primary computer in the same way as you do right now. So there would be we do not touch your archives at all at the beginning. You continue using your archives as you do. Then, in New York headquarters, we have a number of people which have archived emails under the server. These are normally VIPs. Plus, DPQ and DFS decided to archive all their emails on a server in New York headquarters for the New York headquarters staff. So these are all people that we have under the server archives. What we are trying to do with Microsoft is to negotiate free of charge migration of these archives into Office 365 in the same way as we migrate the email system, inbox. For those ones that have a private archives on the drives, right, on a computer, I'm the same. I don't have. I'm a director in ICT, but I don't have a server level archive. I have an archive on this computer. This is where my archives are. So for people like me, we are going to work with you guys, focal points, and with the service desk to come with a tool to each one of you, convert your archives from your offline archives in NSF to offline archives in PST and inject them into Office 365. You can imagine this is a long, long and tedious process. I'm here for two and a half years. I know that some of you may be here since the time of when Lotus Notes was created, and that you have archives since the time that Lotus Notes was created in 2000. So I expect it would be terabytes and terabytes of data that we need to migrate into something that will be readable. And we are ready to work with you to do that. So at the end of this migration, none of you stays without access to their archives altogether. But we have to work on this together. And on top of that, I would like to stress here that we would like to do that without charging you anything, because it is not, we cannot sell this product to you by asking an exuberant amount of money. All of this is supposed to be cost absorbed and not create any additional cost for any of the departments. So this is the story related to archives. We have a small RFP which is right now with PD for the converting and migrating archives. We did a lot of tests. I don't know how many tools we tested in the last year and a half. Some of them are bad, some of them are good. And we finally believe that we have the right tool that we can use. We asked Microsoft to tell us what are companies of our size doing about archives, because they migrated hundreds of thousands of emails, if not millions of email inboxes from other companies. We got their information, and we got an information from DFS, DPKO, for the migration that they did from Lotus Notes to Exchange 2 years ago. So all this information we gathered, and we came up with a little RFP, which is right now with the PD for the selection of the tool. As I said, this tool will be used to convert all your NSF archives into PST, and that's it. I think on the next slide is more on the communication side, so I will hand over to my colleague Liliana, and then we will have about 30 minutes, I believe, for the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Arsen. As everyone here has already mentioned, this is a very exciting project, and I think probably one of the deployments that I've experienced people are actually very positive about. But change is difficult, and there are things like the archives and encrypted, which isn't so simple and straightforward, and so communications is really, really important. And as I mentioned, we have at least 13 emails planned for end users, and the survey has shown that people do prefer to receive email communications versus having to go to ICT or elsewhere. So, of course, obviously announcing the migration to people, letting them know their cutover date. There's a pre-migration checklist, which includes making sure they have their Unite Identity account active and working, that they've taken the mandatory security course, and other things that they should go through ahead of time. The pre-migration survey, which really helps us in terms of getting feedback and making changes, lessons learned from ECA, from OCHA. We're adapting every step of the way. And of course, reminders of all of this, because as we all know, everybody's busy and you miss messages in your inbox, so we will send 2 to 3 reminders of every message. Then, of course, on the first day, a welcome email, and this has a post-migration checklist of things you should go through. As you said, Lotus Notes will still be there, so you can go back and verify to make sure everything is there. So we have a list of things that each user should make sure to check. And if there's any issues, they can make note and submit to their focal point or service desk. And then, of course, the post-migration survey. The project website is up. It's been up there for a few months. The FAQs are updated on a regular basis as we get more information regarding archives and encrypted email. Any other questions that we receive from those such as yourself, from end users, from the other entities, we're regularly updating that. We recently added a 101 intro because the FAQs are starting to get quite long. And so for most people to read, maybe it's a bit too much. So we summarized a 101, basically just an overview of what's going to happen before, during, and after migration, so that people have that, and it links to the FAQs for more information. And of course, the training resources. So Microsoft has a tremendous amount of training resources already up in multiple languages. We've taken the most applicable ones and posted in English, Spanish, and French up on iSeek. We're going to get help from Esqua to get Arabic up there as well, and hopefully we can get the other languages too. And we've got quick guides for desktop and mobile apps, so how to install the applications that were mentioned on your various mobile devices, Surface, iPad, and Android devices. and then Lynda training. So OHRM, obviously lynda.com has thousands and thousands of videos regarding Microsoft Office. Not all the videos are applicable to our implementation. So with the help of OHRM, we put together a playlist that really gives you the end users the most detailed and important information in terms of how to get started in Outlook, how to do your signature, because that has to be redone. That's not being migrated. How to do the delegation, how to send and receive. And there's one quick guide which is really, really useful. It's called Lotus Notes to Outlook, and it features side by side the slight differences. So we've all been using Lotus Notes for a long time. We put a comma to separate multiple users. In Outlook, you need to do a semicolon. So I think for me, that's probably going to be the most difficult thing to remember, is to get used to using that semicolon instead of that comma. And so these sort of little tips and tricks, it's all up there. People can start looking now and getting ready and being prepared for the change. So on day one, they don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is a whole new interface. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Email is extremely important to our day-to-day work. This is the project website. It's up on iSeek. So I said, just to point out, very easy. The main links are at the top of the menu. And under resources, again, it's all repeated there, so it's very easy. For everybody who's familiar with iSeek, we just stuck with the standard template to make it as easy as possible for people to navigate. And the unite.un.org/office365 is just a quick link that brings you to this page, because of the way iSeek is structured. It's basically 4 levels down on iSeek, and so we just wanted to make sure it was as easy as possible for people to find the page. For all of you specifically, all of those communications resources, the email templates, posters, images, visuals that you can use, it's all available in Connections, and we will be giving you access to that community. So if you need to slightly adapt it for your specific department, but again, you will be working with us, with Amat and myself, in terms of getting all of those messages out, and we're here to answer any questions that you have. Again, everything is up in Connections. It's very easy to find, and we will add you to that community and send out that link. And again, if you have any questions, just feel free to contact us. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Amat, so he can talk a little bit more about specifically how you can help us to get your departments migrated.
Okay, thank you. So as Alzin mentioned, the migration plan is to do it department by department. So we're in the process of, actually we're almost done with that, of finalizing the list of all the departments within the Secretariat, and also listing all the users in each department, all the shared mailboxes they have, all the distribution lists they have. So we will do some validation with the HR systems and AIDMS, but we will also need your support to maybe look over the list we have to make sure that we have the right list, that we are not missing anyone, or we still do not have people on the list who are no longer with the organization, or distribution lists that are no longer being used, for example, or shared mailboxes that are, that is of no use anymore. So we need your support on that. And of course, we need your support in creating awareness of the project within your own departments, making sure they visit the project site, that they're aware of where they can get training material. And, but most importantly, we need you to become Unite Mail champions. So Lillian and I have talked about creating some kind of Unite Mail champion program. We haven't fleshed it out in detail yet, but we hope to count on your support to make sure that users are prepared for the migration, that they know how to get support if there are any issues after they've been migrated as well. We also need your support in identify key staff, such as personal assistants, and executive office EOs as well, whose requirements in terms of emails and calendars might be different. They need hands-on guidance on how to get access and how to manage other people's calendars as well. So we need to identify these people, and the plan is to have some type of face-to-face training for these kind of users, some kind of classroom training. So we need your help in identifying these people. And Also, make sure people know where to get support and where to get information. So that's the website, the O365 UN Migration at UN.org. But you will be hearing from us with the list. And hopefully when we finalize the department, it will include your input in what department migrates when and how long it takes based on the number of users within that department. So we hope to count on your support, but we will provide you more information about the United Mail Champion program that we hope to develop as well.
Thank you. So I just want to say one more time about something about the training. I just want to make sure that we all understand that hands-on classroom type of training would be provided for the special VIP users, which I hinted and then Ahmad confirmed just now. For majority of users, including me, there would be no classroom training. We provide a number of other training materials which are online, and our service desk staff will be able to assist you. The reason why we don't provide a classroom training for everybody, it's because it's expensive. And we are trying to do this within the budget that we have and without spending too much resources for this organization. That's the reason why we had surveys at the beginning, so it will give us some idea of how many people actually used Outlook in the past, and what is the ratio of people who don't know anything about Outlook versus those ones who do. So we will help you, but we will not organize a training for all 10,000 people in New York headquarters. It's just not possible. So just for you to know and keep that in mind. I think now is the time for questions. So Liliana, over to you. Yeah.
I guess we'll turn it over to you now. If there are any questions, please feel free. Yes.
How is it going to work for the generic email addresses and the EIDMS?
Can you repeat the question, please?
I'm asking for the generic email addresses that the offices use. How are we going to log into these emails? There is no Unite ID associated to them.
Can we have some more questions, and then I will address these questions all at once?
Outside the UN complex, our office just uses webmail. Will we be affected by the migration if we just use webmail?
Thank you. I'm going to answer a question. Let me just gather a few more questions, and I'm going to address all these questions. Go ahead, please.
Home leave during the migration, what am I going to do?
Yes, please.
Of archive capacity for offices who need to transfer and maintain high multimedia file, high resolution multimedia files, as well as big loads of files to be transferred over weekend, or photographies, videos, audio files that are huge objects.
Another question, please. Go ahead. Just wait until your microphone turns red, please.
Yeah, hello? Yeah. If the PC is replaced after the migration Outlook, you will not be able to load us on new PC, am I right?
If I understood correctly, it is if the PC is replaced with the Outlook migration at the same time, you will not. After the migration?
After migration, the Outlook, and the PC is replaced after that. So the new PC will not have a Lotus Notes, like CMS is out right now, so CMS doesn't deliver the Lotus Note. The question, like you said, that, depend on the old Lotus Note that you have it.
Okay. I saw also a hand over here, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes. Just to be clear on the migration, it's 6 months. Within that time frame, any email, inbox, or archive, you can migrate with you. But anything past that, you will not be able to see in Outlook, but you can have read access to that in the Lotus Notes client and see that anytime after the migration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you try one more time, please? I see you're still.
Me? Yes. Yes.
Up there in the last line. Yeah, go ahead.
Any budget implications? Like, do we have to budget more for next year or budget less for next year?
Okay, thank you so much. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions. Let me just address them, and then we can continue with another round. For generic email addresses, as far as I know, Microsoft has a slightly different approach to generic emails than IBM had. We are talking more about shared mailboxes rather than generic emails, because these generic emails are accessed by XYZ people, right? So we have to identify who needs access to the generic emails and create a shared email that will be given, and access rights would be given to those people. That's what we will do with. So once when you log in with Unite Identity, you will be able to see your shared, your generic email as well, generic mailbox in Outlook as well as your normal mailbox. On the webmail, second question related to webmail. Webmail is changing also because the current webmail is actually connecting onto the Lotus Notes farm. The webmail in the future, Microsoft calls it Outlook Web Access, OWA, and it will be available, but it's going to look different than what it currently looks. As a matter of fact, I think that would be a huge benefit to those ones who only use webmail, because if you compare right now what IBM has as functionalities in the inbox inside the Lotus Notes versus what they offer within the webmail, Outlook client, it's almost same as Outlook webmail. So you will have more functionalities in webmail in the future once when you are migrated. When it comes to home leave during the migration and what to do during that time, this is where focal points come into the picture. Basically, there are two things that we can do here. We can either wait until home leave is over for that particular person and do a migration at a later stage. But we need to know from focal points that this is what user wants. We can also do a migration while person is on a home leave. That person will have access to the emails over Outlook Web Access or over new webmail after that is done. So it's really about coordinating a bit between focal points and the project team about pretty much everything about the user population of that particular department. Yes, please.
Your presence is not actually required to be migrated. Being on home leave, how it might impact a user is that they might not have access to their clients to push the button to decrypt their emails or move their contacts, because that has to be done from your machine, from the PC. You cannot do it over webmail or from the mobile device. So that's the only impact if you're away. But you would still be migrated. Basically, the decrypted items can still be migrated while you're away.
Thank you. The next question about PC that will be replaced and will the Lotus Notes be installed? Yes, we did replace CMS. with Microsoft SCCM. It is a tool that has done an excellent job for the last 20 plus years in terms of delivery of the applications. Now Microsoft SCCM does the same. If, for example, your mailbox is migrated today and tomorrow your computer is replaced for whatever reason, you will still have your Lotus Notes installed on your machine. And this is going to be until such time that we decide, together with you as an organization, to uninstall Lotus Notes client from your machines. We are not going to make a unilateral decision as an ICT to remove Lotus Notes from your computer until such time that all applications that you are using as a user are still up and running and are usable. Simple as that. When it comes to 6 months, I will just want to confirm to a gentleman who asked that question. The migration is done in such a way that 6 months of emails is moved from today, 6 months in the past, is moved to, if migration happens, to address book. Address book will not point anymore to Lotus Notes inbox, but will point to Office 365 inbox. And from that point onwards, you will be sending and receiving emails out of Outlook with your 6 months of emails that are migrated. However, at the same time, your inbox in Lotus Notes is intact. You can still access it with your Lotus Notes ID. We do not shut down Lotus Notes servers, email servers yet. And this will be until such time that we are comfortable that email is not to be used anymore. So that's where we are with the 6 months migration. When it comes to budget implications, I don't know if there are some of you who have been meeting with me and OICT about rate cards for 2018-19. When it comes to 2017, OICT is going to purchase the licenses for Office 365, and this was after almost 6 months of negotiations led by PD, and I'm very, very grateful to PD to help us with this. So we will purchase licenses until 31st of December 2017. So no budgetary implications additional budgetary implications to departments. However, as of 1st of January 2018, you are not going to pay anymore for Lotus Notes licenses, but you will be starting paying for Office 365 licenses instead. And a rate card which we submitted to the departments includes the Office 365 suite of products there. So it is really important that departments pay their dues when it comes to Office 365, because we will use that money to extend subscription as of 1st of January 2018-19 when new budget period kicks in. The approach that we are having there is that Office 365 is no more expensive or cheaper than what you currently pay for Lotus Notes. So we are trying to break even, and that we don't have any additional financial burden for departments. Are there any follow-up questions? First, let me ask, based on the answers that I gave so far from people that raised the questions. Please go ahead.
I guess my question is, if we only use webmail, and sorry, I don't know your name, this gentleman on the right corner mentioned that we can't do the migration through webmail, through Lotus Notes webmail. Is that?
No, let me clarify. At 5 days before you're migrated, you get an automated email which includes a button for you to decrypt any encrypted emails. So that button would only work if you are accessing that email you got from your machine. That button will not work through webmail or through Traveler on your mobile device.
Yeah, so that's why it's very important that because it is a very complex setup that we have in New York headquarters, as you can imagine. So that's why it is important that this kind of cases, such as yours, when you only use a webmail, are raised with the focal point, so we can address them. We can maybe install on a machine for you a Lotus Notes client that you can just do that action. Because according to what I know, normally everybody should have a computer in New York headquarters and access to the to the Lotus Notes over Lotus Notes client. But I know also that that's not the case. So please take this offline, send us an email to this email address that we put up on the presentation, and let's work together to bypass this situation.
If I may just add, if they're on webmail only, they wouldn't have local contacts or encrypted email anyway.
Yeah,
and they won't have archives. So, yeah.
I know, but we need to see with them.
Well, yeah,
we need to work with them how to handle
it's
it.
a very very special case.
If I also clarify about the scope of the migration, for UNHQ is 3 months, not 6 months. The policy here is we only keep 90 days worth of emails in your primary mailbox. Everything past 90 days is considered archives, and that is what would be handled in a separate effort. So it's 30 days. I mean, it's 3 months, 90 days.
Just to follow up to that answer, some of the colleagues, they do have personal email archives because we only keep 90 days in the inbox, right? So then, so the colleagues, from time to time, they need to refer back to their personal archive emails. Then we understand that we're going to keep Lotus Notes client for the users for some time. But when we lose the Lotus Notes client, how can user access the emails in their personal archives?
Thank you. Let me just take some more questions and I answer you. Alejandro, go ahead.
Just to clarify, webmail-only accounts can handle encrypted emails. And we do it for our experts in DPA. So they transmit encrypted email through webmail-only accounts. And so my question is how we are going to handle encryption in Outlook, because it's not only attachments that can be confidential or strictly confidential, but even a date or a time can be strictly confidential in the transmission.
Thank you. Okay, let's just start from below. Gentleman in the yellow, please go ahead.
Yes. First, I have a follow-up question. I'm not sure you answered thoroughly. It's about the size of email. You mentioned that we'll have unlimited amount of email, but what about the big files? The gentleman here mentioned the big files. As far as attachment goes, is there a limit for attachments? How big can each email be? And the new question would be, down the line, we'll be able to use Skype for Business. What about the hardware upgrade for that? Because I understand that most of the organization don't have PCs ready as far as microphone and cameras go for Skype.
Okay, go ahead. You please, with the glasses, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
Attachment size, but also just to add to that, my interest is really related to retention policy for the archives. When you say that your archives will be unlimited capacity, I wonder if there will be any policy related to archives and records management and other maybe DPI retention policies for AV archives, whether it will be managed properly. These attachments, there will be like a big trash can of all the emails that will be hanging there with attachments, and what will be the implication later on the actual management of these files, especially big blob or big objects. Thank you.
Thank you. Lady, please.
Yes, So I have two questions. The first one would be, again, with the generic emails, most of our generic emails are being used by our interns who won't have any Unite IDs. And the second question would be the Lotus Notes room reservation system. Will that also be migrated to Microsoft Outlook? Thank you.
Okay, so let me answer these questions and then we will take another wave if we have time. So first, on the personal email archives, there was a question. So let me just say one more time. For those people such as me, I have a personal email archives on my computer or on my hard drive. We are working with PD to get the tool that will help us with the conversion of a personal email archives from NSF or Lotus Notes archives into Outlook readable archives. So the moment when that is done, there is no need for you to use anymore Lotus Notes as an application. You can still you will be still able to open your archives through Outlook. So that's the answer related to personal archives. On the webmail accounts that are an encryption in Outlook that Alejandro mentioned, as I stated a little bit earlier, the current setup of Office 365 and Outlook is that there is end-to-end encryption from the Outlook client all the way to the Microsoft Office 365 cloud, including the connectivity between Outlook and Office 365, which is passing through the VPN that is created by us and managed by us. The storage where in the cloud where Office 365 is stored, emails are stored, is also encrypted. So this is the encryption that we have, and we have several documents that are related to the encryption. So we do understand that DPA, similar to DPKO and DFS, may have special needs when it comes to encryption, and I encourage my colleagues from these departments to reach out to us so we can take a look at this and decide. We don't provide anything, we wouldn't provide anything more or less than what currently DPKO DFS provides on the exchange, with exchange encryption on the emails that are stored in Valencia and Brindisi. So this was our basically baseline that we used for the encryption. But Alejandro, if you have additional questions, please reach out to us offline and we will be happy to address them, specifically for DPA, because we understand what your core business is and the emails that you are exchanging in this relation. For the size of emails, first of all, I'm a little bit surprised that DPI is using, or if gentleman is from DPI, is using email to send large attachments. But if that's the case, those emails will be also migrated to Office 365. Microsoft believes that in 21 days for the migration of each, which is necessary for a migration of each mailbox, this is enough in terms of time to migrate any size of mailbox that we currently have on our servers, which is up to 90 days of emails. When it comes to archives, that's a completely different story, and I think I spoke about that. We will do our due diligence to move the archives, which are server-based archives, into Office 365. For personal archives that are currently stored on the computers, hard drives, external hard drives of staff members, we will be able to convert them, but we will not be able to upload these archives to the cloud. We are also reviewing the cap for the sending and receiving of emails in terms of size. At the moment, we are looking at maybe raising it to 25 megs or 30 megs. This is not something related to Office 365 itself. It's more related to the to the people that you are sending it to. Because it could happen that somebody inadvertently sends an email to a user that is in a peacekeeping mission with a very slow internet access, and it takes a very long time for these people to download, and it may cause technical problems for them on the other side. So it is more related to the actual network rather than what we have in our email system. Office 365 has a limit of up to 150 megs when it comes to the attachment. But I'm not sure that we will be able to achieve that because of our diverse population around the world. On the hardware upgrade, and the fact that there are people who do not have webcams, I said several times during this presentation that we are trying to be as cheap as possible in terms of deployment of this solution. And if departments do not have computers with a camera, unfortunately, ICT cannot take responsibility to upgrade those computers to the laptops with camera. And this is something that requires a significant amount of money. But then on the other side, is a laptop what you will be using in the future to communicate with Skype for Business? Because Skype for Business you can have on your phone, and you can have it also on your tablet. So you can use cameras from your phone and from your tablet if you want to communicate with Skype for Business. So we do not commit, and we cannot commit to buy new equipment for a whole organization just because we want to use Skype for Business. That's not going to happen. We don't have that money, and I don't think departments also have that money. On the retention policy, so there are two, I will talk about technical side of the story, which is that Office 365 and Microsoft gives us a possibility to have unlimited space on the archives in the cloud, and that we, if we want to, as an organization, we do not need to delete anything. It can be, archives can be, if somebody works 25 years for the organization, these archives can stay 25 years in the cloud. However, on the other side, there is a retention policy related to email. At the moment, that retention policy is on hold, as requested by the ARMS, and we are working with them to identify next steps in terms of how is it going to be. So whatever they are going to say to us as an organization, we will negotiate with them, and we will publish that policy. We are 5 minutes over the time. I just want to see if I can just pass through this. One more question that they have, which is on generic emails and interns. This is also coming back from a lot of offices away from headquarters and economic commissions. OCHA and ECA raised this also. There is a subscription fee for an email account, and this subscription fee is X amount of dollars per year. So if you give a named accounts, we have to be really good in terms of how we use these name accounts, because if a name account is up and running and a person is not there, we will still have to pay that license, obviously. So when it comes to interns, if an intern A has an email address, then we need to pay license for that person. We are ready to work with departments to ease up a burden and to still use generic accounts for the interns, obviously within the policies, rules and regulations of United Nations when it comes to the use of email, and with only one reason, and that's to make sure that departments don't pay exuberant amount of money for accounts that are not necessarily going to be used. So this is where we are in terms of that. I think I would like to stop there. If you have more questions, please send them to the email that is published. I would like to thank you all for coming today and for our support. We cannot be successful without you. This is the beginning of our communication, and we will be reaching out to you, to each department, and trying to organize this migration in such a way that is not disruptive for our users. Thank you so much.